Hey guys, and welcome back to Jessin Reads Romance. I'm Jessin, and today I'm going to be doing the historical romance book tag. It's so exciting. I recently did a book tag and I had so much fun with it. And then the day that I posted my anti-TBR book tag, Jess created this one. And I was just like, how perfect. I love these types of videos. Anti-TBR was the first one that I did. And I was like, it's fate. I love it. I'm just so excited. And I love historical romance. Again, this book tag was created by Jess from Peace Love Books. Her video will be linked down below. And let's get to these questions. I'm so excited to start answering. So the first question is, what was the first historical romance you ever read? And I had to really think about it because I was reading historical fiction and it wasn't necessarily romance, but some of them had romantic elements in it. Juliet, whenever I was about 13, took me to a library sale and I got a bunch of books for like 30 cents, 50 cents. One of those was Philippa Gregory's, is it Philippa Gregory? It's the other balloon girl. So I read that one, and that's not technically a romance, but it does have romantic elements in it, and I really loved it. But anyway, at that same library book sale, I got a couple books. The first one is A Kiss of Fate by Mary Jo Putney. This is a historical romance, but it has fantasy elements in it because it's like, I think this is in the Tudor times. No, sorry, it's Elizabethan times. And there's this whole race of kind of like mages, and they are like secret society, and obviously they're called the Guardians, and they have magical abilities. And the hero Duncan is like a weather mage. His family was like very famous weather mages. Did I say Elizabethan times? It's not, because Bonnie Prince Charlie is in this book. Anyway, sorry, I was just thinking about it. I haven't read this book in so long, but I was super into paranormal and fantasy romance at this time, so this was like my perfect kind of like gateway historical romance because it had that fantasy element in it that I really liked. And so the heroine was married whenever she was very young to somebody who was like much older than her, and he died, but she remained a virgin. He never slept with her and she never really questioned it. He kind of just was like, well, I was already married and already had my heirs, and you know, I just wanted a companion. So she's widowed, but she's a very young widow, and when she meets Duncan is completely fascinated by her. So they end up by getting married, and then they discover that her abilities, she thought that she had no abilities at all, and her abilities were activated after she has sex because she's an enchantress. And it's just a really interesting romance. So I had this one. Another one with the fantasy element that I read kind of around the same time, but I'm going to talk about one more, was The Dark Highlander by Kara Marie Moning. This was the first one that I picked up. I did not read them in order because I do remember reading this one, and the hero is Dagus. I think I'm pronouncing his name right, and he's part of the McKeltar clan. And the Highlander series that Kara Marie Moning wrote started off kind of like standalones, but then it developed into like the McKeltar series. So this family is pretty important. And so while reading Dagus's romance, I knew when we met his brother that his brother had to have had a book, and he was already married at that point. And so that's whenever I went back to the beginning and I started reading it. But again, this was like something that I was super into because he was a druid during medieval times, but he travels through the standing stones, time travel, and it's forbidden for him to travel through time to try to change the past, and he's trying to change something bad that happened to someone in his family. And so because he changed this and he was able to save the person he wanted to save, he was cursed, and so now his soul is like possessed by like these evil druids, and he is searching for a way to undo his curse. And so the book actually starts in present day, but we do time travel back to the past, and it's just like so freaking cool, and I really loved it. And then the last one, because I honestly don't know what order I read these in, this is another library one, the one when I was 13 and Juliet took me to the library. It's Widow's Kiss, The Widow's Kiss by Jane Feather. And this is a very interesting story. So Lord Hugh is tasked by King Henry VIII to go investigate this widow. She's been widowed 3 times. And King Henry's like, if there was foul play, then I basically can take her land. And she had inherited this piece of land through one of her marriages that Lord Hugh thinks his family is entitled to. And so he definitely has a stake in the game. If he finds that there was foul play in any of her husband's death, then he could possibly get that land back. And so Lord Hugh goes to investigate Lady Guinevere, and then he becomes enamored of her. So it's their romance, and they're both single parents, and I really like this book. So again, I haven't read this book in a long time, but it really kind of stuck with me, and I'm glad that I had such good experiences with my first historical romances that I read, because it made me want to go explore more. And these were completely random finds in a library sale. Like, I was just like, sounds good. Good job, Destin. Picked good. The next question is, what was the last historical romance that you read? And that's Stranger in My Arms by Lisa Kleypas. Crystal and Jen host a book club called the Rake Appreciation Society, and this was their March pick. So this was the last one that I read. I haven't read all of Lisa Kleypas's backlist, so I was really excited that they picked this one, and I really enjoyed this book. I gave it like 4.5 stars, and I thought it was really, really good, actually. I'm always nervous to go like way back in an author's backlist, like one of my favorite authors, because you never know what you're gonna find. Will they have changed so much that you really don't vibe with their older ones? This is not her oldest. There's some older ones. I haven't got to those yet though. The next question is, who is an underrated historical romance author you wish more people would read? Lenora Bell. I feel like I haven't really seen anyone before, like recently, talk about Lenora Bell. Stacy Reed, I know that a lot of people really love this cover by her. I discovered her with My Darling Duke, which is the first book in this series, but I had to grab this one because I really love the cover of this book. I really love Stacy Reed's writing, and I have a couple of her first books in her other series that I need to go read. And then also Shanna Galen. Juliet was actually a person who introduced me to Shanna Galen. I think that she has a really good sense of humor, and I really liked her characters. We read Girls Just Want to Have Fun, and I really enjoyed that book, and I still haven't read another one by her, and I own a couple of hers on Kindle, so I really need to go back and go read it. I'm trying to be better about reading more historical romance authors, because I feel like I tend to stick to my historical romance authors, and I just want to read the books that they write, like my tried and true ones. So I need to start branching out more. Which brings me to my next question. The next question is, who is a historical romance author you haven't read but you really need to? And there's so many that I haven't read. It's kind of ridiculous. So I'm going to go through a couple of them. So Jude Deveraux. I have not read any of Jude Deveraux's at all, and I really do want to go try some of hers. Victoria Alexander's another one that I see quite often. People hauling some of her books. Mary Below. Never read anything by Mary Below. Grace Burrows. Never read anything by Grace Burrows. Laura Kinsella. Never read anything by Laura Kinsella. Elizabeth Boyle. Galen Foley. Yeah, so I definitely have some catching up to do. And there's so many other historical romance authors that I haven't read yet. So, okay, so this one. What historical romance would you recommend to people who are new to the genre? Funnily enough, I don't even have these copies on me because I have loaned them out to people because I'm like, try it, you may like it. So the first one is Love in the Afternoon by Lisa Kleypas. It's the 5th book in the Hathaway series. It's the last book in the series, but it's just so soft and sweet and lovely, and I just absolutely die for this couple. I love Christopher Phelan, and Beatrix is just like so amazing. I just love this couple, so I always recommend this one, even though it's one of the later books in the series. It's just so good. And Just Like Heaven by Julia Quinn. I feel like Just Like Heaven and The Viscount Who Loved Me are two of my favorite Julia Quinn books, and they're pretty much tied, but I know that Anthony can be a polarizing character, so it's not like the first book that I reach for in Julia Quinn's backlist to like make people read. So Just Like Heaven is definitely like, it is such a cute romance. It's I'm in love with my brother's best friend, but it's not like she's been pining after him. She just kind of like, oh, Marcus, like, you're my brother's best friend. I've been knowing you for years, and I'm looking for a husband, and like he's kind of like watching out for her, trying to be kind of a stand-in big brother for her, making sure she doesn't get in trouble. And over the course of like her shenanigans, trying to find herself a husband at this like country house party, he starts falling for her. And it's just like, it has one of the most wonderful like sickbed scenes, like taking care of somebody whenever they're sick. I die for those scenes, and I'm just like, yes, I love it so much. Okay, I'm gonna cheat for this next one. I mean, I can't just answer a question with just one book. It's impossible, and especially for this question. So it is, what's your favorite historical romance of all time? I can't just pick one. That's being ridiculous. Don't try to torture me. I'm not going to pick. So my favorites are Devil in Winter. I love Sebastian St. Vincent. All time, one of my all-time favorite heroes, by Lisa Kleypas. Then I have Marrying Winterbourne, also by Lisa Kleypas. Absolutely love this one. And then I have Chasing Cassandra by Lisa Kleypas. And it's funny, I have one more that's not by Lisa Kleypas, but I did want to point this out whenever I was thinking about. So Lisa Kleypas is obviously my favorite historical romance author, and I was just like, which ones are my favorite out of all the books that she's read? And I noticed that there's kind of like a theme with all the ones that I picked. So all the ones that I picked are like, they have a more like unapproachable hero and like a soft, unassuming heroine. And it's just like, I love how Lisa Kleypas writes these heroines that are not like, they don't immediately come to mind when it's like, oh, a kick-ass strong heroine, but they are. But they're like soft and just like so sweet and maybe a little bit quiet, but their strength like comes from deep down within, and I just love that about them. So all of these heroines are fucking amazing and I just love them. So anyway, I'm really a fan of Lisa Kleypas, if you don't know. But then I had to like balance it out and I had to pick something else that I really love. So On a Wild Night by Stephanie Lawrence. This is later on in the series. The first book in the series is Devil's Bride, and you meet the twins, Amanda and Amelia. And so this is Amanda's romance, and I freaking love it because this girl is such a go-getter. So she and Amelia are just looking for husbands, and they don't like anybody. They're like, we kind of want someone like our cousins. Our cousins are like really strong men, and we love the way that they look at their wives. They're like so gone for their wives, and we can't find any man like this because everyone that they meet at all the balls that they are brought to attend by their parents, but it's either fortune hunters or like much younger boys that they're just like, we want a man, we don't want a boy. So Amanda's like, I think I kind of have a plan, and Amelia's like, so do I, but this is Amanda's story. And Amanda decides that the balls that she gets invited to attend are like the proper balls, and she needs to go looking for a more rakish man who is probably not looking for a wife just yet. And so she goes to balls held by like married ladies, for like rakes, and also to gaming hells. And that's where she meets Martin, Earl of Dexter, and he partners her in a game of whist. And it's just like, it's so good. I freaking love this couple because she's playing a game, but like he knows she's up to something, but she's doing it so well that he's like, I don't know if she's trying to trap me into a marriage or not. And it's just like, I just love it. I love the way that she handles him. It's so good. Okay, next is, do you prefer new or old school historical romance? I'm going to take a page out of Jen from the Book Refuge, what she did for this question. I like books pretty much written in the 2000s, I've noticed. I don't know what it is about that decade, like the 2000s, but those books land with me. And not to say that I haven't liked really old school historical romances, because I totally have, like The Secret. Oh, love that one. Lord of Scoundrels. Those are kind of in the 90s, I believe. And of course I like newer ones, but I think my sweet spot was in the 2000s. Those are the ones that I tend to like the most. Okay, next question is, what are your favorite historical romance tropes? Okay, so I really like Secret Identity. I love Secret Identity. I also really like an arranged marriage. I think it works so well in historical romance because it was done. It was not unheard of. And I really like whenever the characters are in a relationship. They're in a marriage. It's like forced proximity. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds. They're already living together. They have to learn how to work with each other. They have to learn to live with another person. And I just love it. It creates so much amazing sexual tension with arranged marriages that I'm just like, yes, this is what I want. This is what I need. Because otherwise, if they're not married, then they have to meet at balls, like I said, and they have to be chaperoned, and it has to, like, you have to sneak around, which is harder to do sometimes. So, oh, and one of my favorites is different social classes, particularly when the man is not like a lord and the lady is, and the heroine is from a noble house, a noble family. I really love those. One of the recent ones that I had recently reread was Love is a Rogue by Lenora Bell, and I really freaking like that one. It's a carpenter, and he was part of the Navy, and the daughter of a duke. So I'm just like, yes, freaking love those. Love them. Oh, and again, The Magic by Lisa Kleypas. I also recently read that one for the first time. Amazing different social classes one. I love it. Love it, love, love it. What are your favorite historical romance settings? Okay, I wore this specifically for this question, but Highlander romances. Gotta have those burly Scotsmen with those brogues. Like, yes, that's exactly what I want. Scotland. And also, I like books that are not really set during the London season in London. I like whenever it's like house parties in the countryside, at somebody's estate, because house parties tend to last for a long time. It could be like a weekend, a week, a month, whatever. So again, it's like forces that proximity, and it's a little bit less strict when the setting just so happens to be in the countryside instead of during the London season. So I really like that. It's a little bit more casual, and I feel like we're able to get to know the characters a little bit better without all the matchmaking mamas. Not that they're not there in country house parties, they are, but I'm just saying there's a little bit more opportunity. But yeah, Scotland. I haven't gone there yet. I haven't traveled to Scotland yet, but I really want to. The next question is, what is the oldest historical romance that you own? Thank you to the Historical Hellions book club, because I purchased Shanna by Kathleen Woodiwiss, because it's going to be reviewed. Ooh, what month is this going to be reviewed? Is this next month or no? Yes, this is the book for April. So I purchased this one specifically for the Historical Hellion book club. And I don't think, no, I did. Did I read The Wolf and the Dove? But anyway, this book was published in the 70s. This one is 77. Pretty sure, I looked through a bunch of mine. I'm pretty sure this one's the oldest, 77. I also have A Pirate's Love by Joanna Lindsey, but that was 78. But I recently discovered that Kathleen Woodiwiss, I had no idea. Thank you, Jen, for the info. I recently discovered that she was like the first traditional historical romance author, and she also is from Louisiana. Just learned that as well. Crazy, but true. So I'm excited to read this one. I'm from Louisiana, just in case anybody is watching this for the first time, like this is their first video by me. I'm from Louisiana. That's why I find that interesting. But anyway, okay, so this one, what is a favorite step back you own? I almost got one of the Elizabeth Hoyt ones because I really love those, but honestly, the first thing that came to mind was Man of My Dreams by Joanna Lindsey, because this kind was a meme, and I've said this whenever I hauled this book. This was a meme during peak Game of Thrones times, and I was a huge fan of Game of Thrones, and this step back will always remain in my memory because there was a meme that put Brienne's face on the guy and Tormund's face on the girl, and this will always be my most memorable step back because of that. And also just like, look at that, he's naked. I love it. So anyway, this is probably one of my most, I just always think of that step back. But again, Elizabeth Hoyt has some of the most beautiful ones, and she tends to have like some double page ones, and I really love that. Okay, so the next one is, what historical romance release are you most excited for? Devil in Disguise by Lisa Kleypas. I'm really interested because Jen and I have debated this. The title has devil in the title has devil in the title, and the books that include devil in the title are the books that are, the characters are related to Sebastian St. Vincent. But this is still part of the Ravenel series, and I know that the heroine is Marcus and Lillian's daughter, so she's not a Ravenel. What is Sebastian St. Vincent's last name? Some with the C. Shallon, I want to say. But anyway, so we know that that's Marcus and Lillian's daughter, so not related to Sebastian St. Vincent. But the hero, Secret Identity, where my confusion sets in is this book is still part of the Ravenel series. There's no more Ravenel siblings to write about. So I was like, oh, well, it has to be like a long lost sibling. We know that the previous Earl, not Kathleen's husband who died, the one before that, he was unfaithful and stuff. So maybe it's a long lost brother of Pandora and Cassandra and Helen and all that. Maybe it's their long lost brother, but then it's like devil. So are you related to Sebastian St. Vincent? And if the two characters are related to Marcus and Lillian and Sebastian St. Vincent, why is it still in the Ravenel series? So I just have questions. And then The Devil's Own Duke by Lenora Bell, that's the second book following up Love is a Rogue, but that doesn't release until like September. So I still have a ways to go for that one. And then A Rogue of Her Own by Stacey Reed, which is the next book in her Simple Wallflower series. That doesn't come out until December. So again, a long ways away. And the final question is, what creators do you follow for historical romance recommendations? Of course, I follow Jessica and Jen and Crystal and Dana and Charles. I was actually just on a live video with Kerrigan Byrne. That was so much fun to talk to her. Lisa and Lacey. Actually, Lisa has recently started coming out with like a guide to a lot of historical romance authors. Like she has a separate video for each author, so those are really fun to watch. I bought some books by Lenora Bell recently because Lisa kind of like guided me. Like, where do I go from here? I'm reading her most recent series, but like her backlist, I always find that looking at an author's backlist is a little bit daunting, so I really like those types of videos. It's like a guide to this author, and so I really like it. But I'm gonna link a bunch of people down in the description box below. I'm gonna link a bunch of bookstagrammers as well as booktubers. So that's it. This was so much fun. Thank you, Jess, for creating this book tag. If any other creatives want to create some more book tags for me to do, I would absolutely love that. I would love to create one. I just don't have the time right now, but I will totally make a video on them if you have a book tag to create. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up, and if you're not already subscribed to my channel, make sure that you subscribe to get notified of any future videos that I do. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, life's better with little HEA. Bye, guys.